Soccer's in session, off season continues, and we're hitting the road a little bit. And we're going to Tifton via the state of Tennessee, and we're catching up with Tift head boys coach, director of soccer, Bobby Earls, for a very, very special story about a very, very special young man in Mike Taylor. And we're going to catch up with Mike coming up also on the network in just a little bit. First off, thanks for doing this and sharing the story about a very, very special young man.
My pleasure. Mike's an outstanding young man, and it's my pleasure to do so.
What was your first impression of Mike?
I was a tad shocked and surprised because, in this day of age, kids are not necessarily they're not polite, but Mike came down to the last day of tryouts and very properly introduced himself to me. Said, "Excuse me, Coach Earls, my name is Mike Taylor. I think I want to try out and play soccer. I'm interested in being a goalie." And Mike stands about 6'1", 6'2", and like I said, he just stuck his hand out and shook my hand and was just so super polite. And at that point, we really didn't have a viable backup for my varsity keeper and didn't have a real, an option for a JV keeper. So I was like, "Well, have you done this before?" And he said, "Well, no, sir, but, my friend Kevin plays and I think I'd like to try it." So I said, "All right, well, let's put some gloves on you and see what you can do." So that's kind of how Mike got his soccer career started.
And from there, what has it been like to see him grow and evolve there in Region 1-6A to be the keeper that he is?
Oh, it's just it's one of those joys you have in coaching. Sometimes you watch a kid develop, or even when you do club soccer, you watch a kid develop over years. And Mike just sprouted so quickly. I mean, he caught on so quick to soccer. That took him a little while to figure out some of the rules and some of the tactical things about it, but he's such a super athlete. He caught on to, of course, he was a wide receiver on the football team, so he had had great hands, and just took him some time to learn how to dive and how to position himself and play his angles, that sort of thing. But just to watch him go from a kid that 3 years ago had never even taken a goal kick, never even kicked a soccer ball, to a kid that's getting a chance to go abroad and play in Valencia, Spain, and continue to grow as a soccer player is just incredible. And it's one of those, aha moments or reminders for me of why I do what I do, is to help kids grow as young people and into adults. And if they have a passion, help them continue that passion.
What has it been like for you to see the sport grow? Because on its face, Region 1-6A is Central Georgia, South Georgia. It's I-75. It's the 229 and the 478. It's veterans. It's Houston County, Thomas County Central, Lee, Tift, and Northside. I know a lot of folks naturally would gravitate toward this region in a football American FOOTBALL sense, but can you break down what it's like in the FUTBOL, the soccer sense, as it's been able to grow and evolve there in 1-6A?
I'll be quite honest. It was kind of a shell shock. We had on occasion played some of the Warner Robins schools. We had always played Lee and TCC because Lee is so close, and I'm friends with Tony Boyles at Thomas County Central. But for the last 2 years we were in 7. Actually, years before that, for several years we've been in 1-7A. And we really, we were in the thick of things year in and year out, and won the region the past 2 seasons. So we were a little shell-shocked going into 1-6A to see how tough the Warner Robins schools are. We had a little bit of some growing pains this year with rebuilding, but that's part of high school soccer. But the Warner Robins schools, gave us fits. We only managed to beat Northside, and those were both in penalty kick wins. So it was 6A soccer is for real. It's a strong region down here.
And to be able to do that with you have a program that is growing in 7A and 6A, and you're doing that with a keeper who is basically growing with his game on the fly. Literally, it is on the job training for Mike.
Right.
When you see an athlete like this, yes, he played high school football. He gravitates over to soccer to be your keeper. What is it like for you to try to keep him locked in, focused, not get discouraged because it's a team that's below 500 and learning about 6A? How do you keep a player like that? How do you keep your team up and motivated, knowing what's in front of them?
Um, just had to kind of remind them that, it is a process, and remind them that, especially in high school sports, you can't live on what's happened in the past. Like I said, we were 17-2 the year before, but again, we had 9 seniors that started that year. And so to remind them that, hey, each team has their own destiny, and each team has to write their own story, and write their own chapter in the Tift County program book. It was a challenge, and it was a challenge for Mike, because the year before he had 4 seniors in front of him, 3 of which had been 3-year starters. So those guys were a fine-tuned machine right in front of them, and so Mike wasn't put in a whole lot of situations. As a coach, especially when I've got a young goalkeeper, I say, hey, look, to the back 4, hey, look, your job is, or our goal is, for you guys to only limit Mike to 6 saves a match. Let's only put him in a situation where he's got to come up with 6 saves, or nothing, out of the ordinary for him to have to deal with. So luckily, Mike got that year under his belt as a starter last year with that back 4. Now this year, of course, he was challenged. He made 129 saves, and Mike kept us in some ball games. We were 5-11, but goodness, without Mike, we could have been 0-16. I mean, Mike just come up clutch. Both penalty kick wins over Northside Warren Robins. Mike saved PKs. He saved some penalty kicks and just regular play. But I had to remind him and others, but especially Mike as a goalkeeper, hey, there's 10 guys in front of you. You can't. Every goal is not your fault. There was a couple where Mike misplayed, and he knew that. He's such a smart young man, and and if he made a mistake, he would own up and say, hey, to his teammates, hey, fellas, my bad. I come off my line too strong, or I made an error in judgment, what have you. But like I said, just as an overgeneral, we had to kind of really focus and remember, we weren't the same squad we were a year before, but that's part of high school athletics. You have to, like I said, each team's got to write their own chapter.
So, with that next chapter for Mike, you mentioned being a leader. You mentioned all of the responsibility that he has out there for you and for Tift and for the program. Here is someone who has done this, and he has experienced so much loss in his life. I think he's grown up probably far quicker and far faster than a lot of other individuals who are his age.
Oh, most definitely. I tell people sometimes the cards that you're given in life, some people get a really great hand to deal with. Mike did not have that. Unfortunately, Mike, had two ladies in his life that passed away on him. His grandmother and his mother that were raising him within a very short period of time, and for a while, Mike kind of bounced around. But he found a home with a family that took him in. But he, like I said, he had to be so mature about that. And I think that's something that kind of makes Mike special. And I really kind of think what makes Mike ready to do, not every high school kid can graduate from high school and then within 2 months leave the country to go follow his dream, especially overseas, be thousands of miles away from home. But Mike is, because of the circumstances he's had in life, Mike's had to grow up a whole lot quicker than others. And I one, I think it's a blessing that he's getting a chance to do this. But number 2, I think as a person, he's ready because of he's had to grow up a whole lot quicker than most 18-year-olds in Tifton or in the world for that matter.
How does this come to pass? I mean, I know that the soccer community is small and that the soccer world is small, but getting reached out to end a sentence in a preposition, to being reached out to from an academy in Spain, how does this happen?
Well, Mike was kind of going over his options. He had some different D3 schools interested in him, and then he got an email from Missouri State, and at first Mike wasn't sure if it was a real email. Unfortunately, with the way the world is, people are spamming and scamming and all that. And he pulled it up and got this email. And so, of course, he shared it. He shared it with me. He said, "Hey, Coach, what do you think about this?" And of course, being like most coaches, and slash father figures. I wanted to look out for my, for my boys. And I said, well, let me check in this, see if this is the real deal. And it was, and I reached out. I've still got some coaching contacts. In fact, that's why I'm in here in Tennessee working a camp. I reached out to my buddies up here and I said, hey, what do you guys know about this gap year program stuff? And they said it's become a very popular thing for people to do, is take a year off, kind of expand their hone their skills a little bit and get prepared for the next level.
And it's for the the name of the program is Etude Sports, and it's in Valencia, Spain.
Right.
And I know that there's a lot of legwork that has to be done to make sure that he can go, because there is a cost involved. And
Right.
with education today, it can become very, very costly. What is going on right now in Tifton and with the South Georgia community to try to help this along?
A family reached out to Mike's foster mom, Miss Caroline, and said, hey, what do you think about, a GoFundMe? And originally Mike being Mike, he doesn't want, he's like, I don't, first he told Miss Caroline, I don't want anything like that. I'll figure out a way. But again, because of his maturity and the way he's had to kind of raise himself. But a family reached out to Miss Caroline and said, hey, I'm going to start this GoFundMe. I just think, we as a community need to back this young man. He's been tremendous he'd be a tremendous representative of our community. Like I said, like, he's a well-spoken young man, super polite. And so there's a GoFundMe out there that I know Mary Alex shared on her story, original story on Mike that you were made aware of. And I don't know the particulars of it, but there's a GoFundMe out there for Mike Taylor to be able to do this trip to Spain.
What was it like for him, for you, and for the community to see that the ceremony where he's signing and all of that? Because I mean, there's the photo that's out there, and once again, it's at South GATV. This is the Mary Alex Andrews TV piece. The still that's out there of the five of you there on the platform, but that wasn't the entire audience that was there. That meant that much to everybody there. There were some special folks that were there as well.
Yeah, it was awesome. Our athletic director was there. All of Mike's teammates were there. We had teachers there that had taught Mike as his career through Tift County High School. Our superintendent was there. I'm not sure. I may have already said that. But it was just great to see. And as our superintendent or our AD told me, and said, look, guys, we all have dreams. If you dream to want to do something like Mike's doing, or dream to go play soccer at the next level, this is what we want you to do. We want you to work hard, put in the effort, and go out and represent our community.
So what we will do, obviously, is we'll let folks know about the GoFundMe and all that kind of stuff. But
Okay.
it's a fantastic message and a great young man, and it's great to see things happen in the sport and how communities wrap themselves around special individuals and special programs. Tift head coach Bobby Earls, director of soccer on the boys' side down there in Tift County. Thanks for hanging out with us to tell your side of the story when it comes to a very, very special young man in goalkeeper Mike Taylor.
Thank you. Again, as I said earlier, it is my pleasure. He's a great young man. We just want to get his story out there, and I know he's going to represent us well